Today's video is going to be a little messy as life has been because I don't have microphones. I think that they're kind of shot at this point. I charge them and then they're good for not even a full video session. I'm going to try to do something about that, but I am sitting close to the camera for this video. If you're new, welcome to the fam. Thanks for being here. As you can tell by the caption of the video, we're going to talk about idolization and how it really creates this impossible. I don't know if I'm going to put idolization in them. That is the mystery word that was left out. You cannot embody what you idolize. And we're going to talk about how idolization really creates this impossible boundary of becoming and growth, and it creates this kind of separation that holds us back from reaching our truest potentials because we've created this box of limited potential of external beings and people and ideas. So, as you know, here we flow, and let's get right into it. I came to this realization a couple months ago when I was really sitting with a couple ideas and just a couple feelings that I've been contemplating for a while. And of course, with the state of the world, I really believe that it's an elephant in the room with these celebrities and billionaires and millionaires who have all this prestige and power and influence and money, and yet have such a separation from the people that actually put them in those places. And I have also been really on my own spiritual journey in terms of biblical stories and Jesus, and that is what led me to come to this realization, is that the more that you idolize something, the more you separate yourself from it. We cannot embody what we idolize. Again, this is truth to me. It may or may not be truth to you. I genuinely believe that there has to be some kind of middle ground, some kind of release. Oh my gosh, this dog. I'm usually never bothered by it, but it's been barking all afternoon at I don't know what. And I'm already struggling with the volume. I hope the volume's okay. I will try to talk a little louder. And really, once I actually allowed that statement to make an impression on my mind, I became so much more empowered in my journey and the skills that I have and in what I've done with my life. So, growing up, we are always idolizing people and ideas and concepts. It's a natural thing for the human mind to do. Yet when we really sit and contemplate those idolizations and the reason why we idolize someone or something, we have the opportunity to actually embody that aspect. For example, if you were to idolize a singer and you really sat with why you idolize that singer and ask yourself, why do I kind of have this fixation with this singer? And it's going to emerge, well, you really love their performance, their stage presence, the way that they move and dance. Once you have that understanding, you'll start taking dance lessons. You'll start dancing because that's what you actually want to do. There's always some kind of intention or some kind of underlying desire onto why we have an attraction to someone. Even if it's someone we've never met, maybe never seen in person, we are still able to figure out why we have that attraction. When we never really sit with the ideas and question why we have an attraction or a pull or a draw to someone, it just stays in that in-between of idolizing. really no positives come out of it, no life force being breathed into it, because there's such a separation. I feel as though the more that we dump into this idea of idolizing, the more that we degrade ourselves as human beings. And our life, my life, your life is just as important as every other being on the planet. Now, these roles that people play, that we all play, symbolize a level of importance that doesn't exist. And I know I say that kind of brazenly, but it is the truth. And there is this hierarchy in human experience that doesn't exist in higher realms of living, of life. And when we tap in, when we pray, when we meditate, all of those levels really go out the window. They don't matter. It doesn't matter who's sitting in that space and enjoying it. We're truly connecting with, I hope you can still see me, life force and pure existence. What do I want to share? What else do I want to share on this topic? And especially subconsciously, that's what I really started dissecting the more that I thought about this concept, you know? I noticed myself, there's people in my life that I'm better than, and that there's people in my life that are better than me. And to realize that going on in my mind made me super uncomfortable. And I only was able to realize that when I sat with myself and asked myself questions, asked God to kind of counsel me on these concepts. And I realized that, you know, the mind, especially subconsciously, is always categorizing people and places and things. And we can't control what the mind's going to do. I've had to realize that. I cannot control how my mind is going to think and process. I can only make small changes in the places I can make small changes. And when we change our foundation, it does manifest into cleaner thoughts, into purer thoughts, into us having more patience with ourselves, and more of an ability to observe than to absorb. And realizing that, it made me surrender that. Like, Lord, I do not need this frame of reference to make myself feel better or to make myself feel worse. Because we have a natural craving to do that too. We don't always want to feel good. Me personally, I notice myself wanting to do things that make me feel bad. And this whole idea of idolization is extremely fascinating to me. And especially because, of course, growing up, you know, I'll never forget, I was in elementary school and we were doing a little project that was cute, and it was about who's your role model. And it had to be somebody that wasn't your family or that you didn't know. Something along those lines. And I really couldn't do it. I just could not do the exercise. I was confused. I felt awkward. And growing up, I never was allowed to have posters. I really had no concept of celebrities until honestly I was much older. And I applaud my mother for that, because it is such a waste of mental space. It is. And I remember once I got to college, you know, friends were all into the celebrity rings. I mean, it's entertaining, I get it. But not having that in my brain, it's beautiful. And I could not do this exercise. I was just getting anxious. I didn't understand. I didn't really understand what a role model meant. And yeah, I actually ended up peeing my pants in my seat because the teacher kept coming back and I didn't do anything. And I was not that kind of student, you know. I was very obedient, very much getting things done, but I just really couldn't point to a role model. And that's not like a pat on the back, okay? I had somebody comment on one of my videos like, something about I'm full. Wow, you're full of yourself, and no, that's not a compliment. A grown man writing that, like, okay, you're coming and watching a video of me on my YouTube channel and taking the time to write that, that says more about you than it does about the person. And that's with any kind of hate online. Even if somebody you feel is wrong and whatever, writing something under their content, it just, and I have tried to defend myself in comments, and I just had to let it go, you know? And it feels good to just talk about it if I need to talk about it and move on. Why I brought up that role model concept, though, is that I truly believe that this idolization is like a man-made kind of concept. I don't think it's in divinity, because even in relationship with God, I wouldn't use the word we idolize God. We worship God, like truly. And when you worship something, you surrender to it. You let everything go in its light. And that's very different than idolizing it. Idolizing it is, having this specific form, very, yes, and that's really what it is. It's like a brand. You know it, you understand it, you see it. Yet it doesn't really bring any, not going to get too much in that. But the reason why I brought up the role model is that children are so naturally empowered. And they love everyone. They love everything. And when we start teaching them to look up to these people, that imprints on them. And I really realized that as I, subconsciously look back on, what I believe led me to have the thoughts that I do in certain respects about these kind of concepts. And of course, I don't believe you ever really, really know. And leaving that breathing room has been really monumental for me. But I can point it back to, kind of this idea of authority and who makes the rules. It's super interesting. It's super, super interesting. And I'm really on the path of making a major career change. And I'm just stepping into a new journey of self-empowerment, validation, and true, genuine, deep self-love. Because that's really a huge part of the journey. It's not selfish. And I do believe that. People don't always agree with that. Everybody's entitled to that. I don't believe putting yourself first is a selfish thing. I truly believe that is essential. Treat others how you want to be treated. Well, that's really hard to do if you treat yourself shitty. Because we can want all these things. We can talk about all these things. If we're not actually taking action on them, making better choices, there will always only be in the abyss. And when we have a clear vision of what we intend to embody, what we actually want for ourselves, what we believe life should look like for humanity, we have to realize we're just as empowered as the people on the TV and the people with all this money. And when we continue breathing life into that truth, God provides. God holds a space. And it's, there's two sides to every coin. It takes two to tango. And that's going to wrap up this flow. I hope the audio's decent. I don't know how my volume was. I tried to speak up, but I kind of got, I was flowing. So, just something to ponder, something to think about, something to notice within yourselves. What do you idolize? Who do you idolize? Is it positive for you? Is it motivating? I used to think that it was motivating, quote unquote, to kind of have these idols to strive towards, but that does not feel genuine to me. It doesn't feel right because I don't believe that I believe that we can truly notice aspects that we wish to embody, but when we keep that idolization still, it holds us back from growing into those potentials. I'd love to hear about your perspectives on this, what kind of came up, and yeah, thanks for being here. I'm grateful to have, made myself stay consistent. I am getting back on the wagon slowly but surely. Everything is always working out in my favor, and everything always falls into place. Thanks for being here, Earth and I Familia. I will see you soon. I will see you next time. Take care and blessings to you.